Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger. Man, what a difference 24 hours makes. Temperatures today are running between 5 and 11 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. Some sprinkles have been rolling through, and look at these cameras across the high desert. A whole lot of cloud cover, not much in the way of clearing. A front is pushing through. Really, a whole system is rolling through the Pacific Northwest. Now, the mountains are absorbing most of this moisture, but some sprinkles have been making it through and even falling all the way to the surface. So each one of these cameras paints a picture of cloudy, and it feels very nice across the high desert. Again, those temperatures well below average for this time of the year. Take a quick switch, a little swift pivot to a couple other cameras. This time yesterday, we were tracking the progression of the Cougar Fire, and this is in southern Crook County. But right now, those same weather cameras not showing anything from Hampton Butte or Wagon Tire, both honed in on where this fire was. Now, the latest report from the fire has come out, and we actually have a pretty decent perimeter that's been laid out, but it's a lot bigger than the 30 acres that we were left with late yesterday. Now, this is a little over 5 miles northeast of Hampton from Highway 20 in Crook County. Deschutes County is to the south of this black and yellow line, and Crook County is to the north. So that's about where that fire was located, and at latest estimate, it's 293 acres. And even late last night, as we were coming in getting ready for the 11 o'clock show, we were looking at the fire for the camera from Wagon Tire camera from the Oregon Hazards Lab camera network, and it was actually showing where there was still some burning later in the evening after sunset. And I was commenting with David saying that it looks like that's more like 3, maybe 200 acres, and that's exactly what it ended up being. Now, this is just a first estimate. Those lines are going to be refined here through the next couple of days, and that's going to change. So we've even had a big change up when it comes to relative humidity. Typically this time of the day, we're in the teens and 20s percentage-wise. Right now, we're ranging from just shy of 30% to 50%. Some of the sprinkles have been making it to the ground, so not nearly as dry. However, winds have been becoming a little gusty. Gusts currently between 11 and 19 miles per hour, where you're seeing the greens through the highest elevations of the Cascades, including Black Butte Ranch and Camp Sherman. That's where winds are a little stronger, 20 plus miles per hour for gusts. Actual wind speeds still between 10 and 20 miles per hour, so gusts are not too far removed from where the actual winds are, and it's going to be breezy at times here through the next couple of hours. Remember, with this graphic, everything to the left of the white line, that now line, that is observed. It's already happened. Everything to the right is forecast, and during the last couple of hours since shortly afternoon, winds have been picking up to 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusts at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Now, here through tonight, we're going to see those wind speeds calm down, and by tomorrow afternoon, midday and afternoon hours, we get breezy again. In fact, a little bit stronger winds are expected from what we've even seen today, and then going further past that, winds come back down to a light breeze by Friday. Meanwhile, even though we've been tracking a couple of fires and we have some smoke in the air, bringing us as bad as just moderate air quality the last day or so, we're sitting in the green. Both the real-time sensors from eSpace and the hourly average from the DEQ. The hourly average is the base map where it's all green, and the real-time sensors are those individual dots. They're all sitting in the green. Good air quality, and that's due in part to this system that's rolling through. Satellite and radar shows where some sprinkles have been actually falling, and some of that actually reaching the ground too. Periods of clearing have been seen as well, and this is all part of a system, and that cold front pushes through tonight. Now, the mountains are absorbing most of this moisture. However, a few more sprinkles are expected through the overnight hours until we really start to see clearing. That clearing begins to shape up through the AM hours of tonight. Now, we're looking at it a little bit differently. This is infrared satellite imagery through an enhancement on there to really pull out those tall clouds where there could be some thunderstorms, and I threw pressure on there. Those white lines are isobars, or equal lines of pressure, and right now those white lines are stacked up through the Cascades, so breezy winds coming through the Cascade gaps, but in the lower elevations, not really translating to too strong of winds. One wave of moisture already pushed through earlier today. Some clouds are still lingering over the high desert with another weak short trough, and that cold front has already made landfall, rolling its way into Oregon, and we are looking at the potential for a few more sprinkles through the rest of this evening and tonight. Then we turn our attention to what's happening over the Pacific Ocean. So let me zoom out. There is a broad and strong ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean. This is what impacts us, and it sets up shop over the Pacific Northwest through this weekend, well into next week. Even with that strong low pressure, just on the other side of the Aleutian Islands, that's really not going to come our way. It's going to go into Canada around our high pressure. And so what that means for us is through the next few hours, high resolution forecast model shows that winds are going to be breezy, some sprinkles are still expected, and then overnight we start to clear out. By tomorrow AM, still mostly clear to partly cloudy. Then sunny conditions are expected through the midday, through the afternoon hours. Winds are still going to be breezy, and temperatures are still going to be pleasantly cooler than average for this time of the year, running between 8 and 13 degrees cooler than it should be. And then through the next couple of days, that warming trend really takes hold. By Friday, tons of sunshine. By Saturday, tons of sunshine. Now, temperatures in the last 48 hours topped out in the 70s, a few 80s, and 90 degrees in Warm Springs. Those higher temperatures are holdovers from 24 hours ago. And actual temperatures are mostly in the 70s with a few 80s on the map. That puts us between 5 and 11 degrees cooler than it was this time yesterday. And this dip in temperatures, this pleasant reprieve from heat, is just that, and it's going to last for one more day. Now, when it comes to our hour-by-hour temperature trend, we're falling back into the 50s, some 40s for lows tonight. By tomorrow, topping out in the 70s with a few 80s possible. So temperature-wise, very similar today. When we look up, huge difference. Today, we've had a lot of clouds. There have been some sprinkles. Tomorrow, we start off with some clouds and then plenty of sunshine expected. Highs still in the 70s, few 80s, but very high UV intensity forecast, and it picks up to 9, could see 10, but still very high through the next few days. The big story is going to be our heating trend. So today, 70s, cloudy, few sprinkles. Tomorrow, clearing, revealing plenty of sunshine. Still breezy, highs in the 70s with a few 80s. We are going to call that awesome. Then by Friday, the warming trend begins. That warming trend brings us into the 80s. Still under tons of sunshine, very little in the way of cloud cover, no rain in sight. In fact, after today and tonight, where we have this chance of sprinkles, there is a rain-free forecast through this weekend and well into next week. So no rain in sight. I'm just going to stop talking about it because it ain't going to happen. Now, by Friday, we start our warming trend. By Saturday, we're through the 80s, reaching into the 90s for some. But notice I changed out the warm word for the heat word. And that's because we are cranking up and going through the rest of this week, and we have some in and out clouds Saturday. By Sunday, back to sunshine. By Monday, keeping that sunshine and heating, I should say, well into the 90s. But through the early work week and going into the midweek, that's when we start to see some changes. So here is your forecast model. This is the one I typically use on air, so a little different than that high resolution one. It still shows a few sprinkles, and then by tomorrow morning, some lingering clouds. Those clouds thin out, we get our sunshine, we keep our sunshine, and during this time, that's when our warming trend begins Friday, continues Saturday, and stays with us by Sunday. By Sunday, that's when we're looking at breaching into the 90s, so getting above average for this time of the year. Looking at the GFS, this is a long-range forecast model. I typically don't use this on air unless I have very high confidence about a system that's coming in, but pretty much don't use it on air. This is going to take us past what we've already seen, starting Saturday night, clear. By Sunday, sunshine. By Monday, sunshine. By Tuesday, some light clouds start to roll into the high desert. Later in the day, not too bad. That is indicative of our ridge of high pressure starting to flatten. And that's when we start to see some changes. But even by Wednesday, still sunshine. So between now and Friday at 11 p.m., some sprinkles are still expected, most of those in the highest elevations, and by Friday and Saturday, no rain in sight. So for tonight, 50s and some 40s. By Thursday, sunshine after clearing, 70s with a few 80s on the map, and the 7-day planner shows that that heating trend takes us well into the 90s by Monday and Tuesday. By Tuesday, the ridge starts to flatten. By Wednesday, we get a dip in temperatures, but that dip in temperatures isn't going to be a huge game changer. We're coming back into the lower 90s, so still near and a little above average for this time of the year. And again, we are keeping it dry. Notice our low temperatures follow the same increasing pattern that we're looking at through the next several days, but the next couple nights. Tonight, we're looking at 50s and some 40s. Tomorrow, 40s, maybe a few 30s, and then we really start to heat it back up. So, a quick look at your headlines for this Wednesday, August the 6th. Pleasant feel today. These pleasant temperatures continue tomorrow, but we get our clearing, and then heat is on the way. Now, it will stay very dry. Fire weather risks build. And we're looking at a rain-free forecast with breezy winds during the afternoon hours. Now, that's the latest in weather. Join us in just a few minutes. Central Oregon Daily News will be on at 5 and 11 on ABC, and at 6, 7, and 11 on CBS. See you then.